Another guy that kind of is linked to the Browns at 44, defensive tackle from the University of Connecticut. Let's take a look at Travis Jones, big-bodied guy, and you'll see him in the middle of this lineup. This one against Purdue. So he's just kind of walking everybody back and plays off the block. Where's number 57? Plays defensive tackle, 57 in white. This one's kind of interesting. Gets blocked all over the place. Somehow finds a way to make the tackle. Scott, you also have written an article about Travis Jones and how he could be the perfect fit. Take us through your thoughts on Travis Jones, and we'll watch a little bit more of this too while you're talking.
Yeah, I mean, we've addressed that they need another D tackle, and I think he fits the mold. Now, Andrew Berry in his 2 years in charge has not spent a lot of assets and resources on that position, right? They did not re-sign Larry Ogunjobi. They let him walk. Malik Jackson was a one-year deal. Malik McDowell had come off the scrap heap. Jordan Elliott's probably the biggest resource they've had, and he was a third-round pick. But, if you find the right guy, I think Andrew Berry might be willing to change that. At number 44, I don't think they would draft a guy early, first round if they were still 13. But at number 44, I think that's possible. Now, they would want that guy to have a little bit of pass rush, right? He can't just be a run-stuffing nose tackle. That's just not valuable enough, I think, for a lot of teams in today's NFL. But Jones has some. I think he had 5.5 sacks in his final year at UConn. At the Senior Bowl, he dominated. That's really where he popped for a lot of scouts because, UConn doesn't play a big-time schedule, although they played Clemson, and he showed up against Clemson. So, I think he's an interesting prospect, and if the Browns were convinced that he can rush the passer enough, not that you leave him on the field on third down, but on first or second down, if it's a pass that he can push the pocket. And I talked to his defensive coordinator, Lou Spanos, who'd been in the NFL a long time with the Steelers, and he thinks he can do that. And he thinks, you mentioned JOK earlier, he thinks he's a linebacker's best friend because he will occupy so many bodies up front against the run. So I would not rule out a D tackle, and I would not rule out Travis Jones because he's right in that area when you start forecasting who could be around at 44.
Yeah, and again, we saw the size and the quickness to get a little bit penetration. And, yeah, you saw him occupying blockers and still getting a hold of ball carriers. I'm intrigued. You question, UConn, who they're playing week in and week out is about the only question that you would have.